We'll talk some Tribe with Paul Hoynes as the Indians wrapping up their series with the Cincinnati Reds. But the big news here today, especially when it comes to the Cleveland Cavaliers, is all about Kevin Love. The Minnesota All-Star could be on his way to Cleveland, and joining us right now to break that down and the Cavs' monumental offseason is ESPN NBA insider Brian Windhorst. Brian, thanks so much for a couple minutes, bud. Appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, so you had a report, I think it was last week, maybe a couple of days ago, Yahoo Sports saying today that a deal is in place. Kevin Love's coming to Cleveland. It's going to cost Andrew Wiggins, Anthony Bennett a first-round pick. Brian, it can't be official until August 23rd. Is there something in the next 16 days that could derail this thing from happening?
Sure. It's the NBA. Stuff that happens to derail deals all the time. This is an unusual situation because you're trading a guy who was just signed a couple of weeks ago, and so this doesn't usually happen. So this is a period that is not something the NBA knows how to deal with. So that's one that everybody in the league, this has been a done deal for several weeks. It's sort of been an open secret. Everybody's been talking about it and breaking it down. I mean, the league has pulled Andrew Wiggins' Cavs jersey from the internet. You can't buy it. It's not like this is it's being discussed now a little bit more openly, but really it's sort of been known for a while in the league, and I'm sure a lot of fans, if they've been paying attention, have known about this for a while too. But because of this weird thing we have to wait on Wiggins, you just don't know. A guy could get hurt. Something else could happen. Something could happen where the owner changes his mind. This getting so far out there today could upset the league, and the league could block it. I mean, I do think there's a very strong probability that this will happen, that Kevin Love is going to end up with the Cavs. But just to be responsible, it is not a done deal. It doesn't mean the Cavs fans shouldn't celebrate, but from a journalist standpoint, saying it is done is not 100% accurate.
Mm-hmm. So now, in June, it looked like Kevin Love was possibly going to the Golden State Warriors. Then something popped up a couple of weeks later about maybe the Chicago Bulls being a threat to the Cavs. What do you think tipped the scales in the Cavs' direction, Brian?
Well, to me, I think it's kind of obvious what happened. I mean, LeBron signed with the Cavs, and then as soon as LeBron signed with the Cavs, he made it a priority that the Cavs get Love, and reached out to Love, and they sort of came to some sort of agreement they wanted to play together. And the big thing that changed the deal was when Andrew Wiggins was included. At first, Andrew Wiggins wasn't included. And as soon as Andrew Wiggins became available, the Wolves realized this was the best deal they could get. And, I don't know what day it actually was that Glenn Taylor, their owner, decided he would do the deal, but it was sometime in July. They've been just proceeding toward that. The day that they signed Andrew Wiggins, the Cavs knew that they were going to trade him to Minnesota for Kevin Love. Now, they would not say that, and the NBA would not say that, and because there's certain things that are against certain league rules, but this sort of stuff happens all the time. And I think it's going to happen, and it's going to be the biggest trade in Cavs history on the heels of the biggest free agent signing in Cavs history. So really a historic summer, and we'll have to see what it actually leads to. Another feat of history, which would be the first championship in Cavs history.
Given what you just said, the signing of LeBron, the potential trade for Kevin Love, how much credit would you give David Griffin for what's going on this offseason?
I think the credit goes to three places. The credit goes, number one, to Chris Grant, who stockpiled this team with assets so that they had future first-round picks and young players on this team to trade, even though he wasn't there to do it. It was him chopping the wood over these last few years. The teams were horrible. I agree. He didn't do a very good job of assembling teams that were ready to compete that year. But he was preparing the cupboard for this time. So he definitely deserves credit. He was the one who had to go out there and take all the losses in the face while making deals that are helping the Cavs today. Secondly, I think LeBron James is making a lot of these deals. It was LeBron James that got Mike Miller. It was LeBron James that probably got Kevin Love to really want to be in Cleveland. It was LeBron James, I think, that's going to get him Sean Marion. And it was LeBron James that got him James Jones and is heavily recruiting Ray Allen. Mm-hmm. I think LeBron's development as a player and as a leader starts at the recruiting level, which is now you are seeing it happen where it didn't happen in Cleveland before. And then I think definitely David Griffin. Griffin has made some really nice moves and also allowed the Cavs to have flexibility in the future. If you look at the move, for example, with Brendan Haywood, where they traded for a guy, it doesn't seem like a major move, but he's got a $10 million non-guaranteed contract next year. That's fantastic usage of salary cap maneuvering. He has histories with James Jones and Sean Marion, which helped him selling those guys. I think Marion's going to end up in Cleveland. And then, Dan Gilbert, too, who's willing to spend huge amounts of money here. He's investing and greenlighting these deals. So I think it's a collaboration all across the board that, really probably starts with LeBron James.
Should it make Cavs fans nervous at all, Brian, that LeBron James does have some say in what has gone on this offseason, and it looks like he'll have say in roster moves moving forward?
I guess, but that's the deal you're going to make. It's not like, if LeBron comes to you and says, hey, listen, I'm going to sign, you're going to say yes. And then he's going to say, okay, I'm only signing for 1 year. You'll say yes. And he says, okay, you're going to sign my friends. And you'll say yes. And you're going to let me decide who gets traded for Kevin Love. And you're going to say yes, because you're going to do whatever you can to get your hands on LeBron James. Mm-hmm. Everything else is an acceptable price to pay. So I think all of that is reasonable.
Brian, if the framework is accurate and it's Andrew Wiggins, Anthony Bennett, and then a protected first-round pick in 2015, is that too much to give up for Kevin Love, or is that about the right price for the Cavs to pay?
Well, a lot of people in the league think that that's too much. Also, we have to see which draft pick it is. I just don't know what it is. The Cavs cannot – I do not believe that the Cavs can trade their draft pick because they have already traded their 2016 first-round draft pick in a deal for Jared when they moved off Jared Jack. So you cannot trade your draft picks in consecutive years. So they would either have to trade the Memphis pick or the pick that they get owed from the Heat. The Memphis pick is exceedingly more valuable. So if they gave up the Memphis pick in this deal too, that would really be an incredible haul for the Wolves. Ideally, what you want to give up is the Miami Heat pick, which is top 10 protected next year, and I think that will convey because I think the Heat are going to be in the top 20 in the league next year for sure. And then you get the nice, delicious irony that not only are the Heat paying Mike Miller $6 million to play it for the Cavs for a discount next year, but also helping the Cavs acquire Kevin Love, which would be a nice little wrap up to that trade that the Cavs made to trade LeBron, and would certainly trump any ridiculous billboard that was being put on the side of the road. In fact, if there was an intrepid Cavs fan who wanted to answer those billboards, if indeed the Miami Heat pick is used for Kevin Love, they could put up billboards in Miami that said, "Thanks for helping us get Kevin Love, Miami. Sincerely, Cavs fans." But I don't know. I just don't know the answer to that, which pick it is. Mm-hmm. And it is a pretty big haul, and that's one of the reasons why the Wolves are content. That's why I think there's a very good chance that this deal will get done, because I don't think anybody can trump this deal. Because not only do you get a really good young player in Andrew Wiggins, but you get him on a rookie contract for the next 4 years, which gives you flexibility. And, I know that the Wolves really wanted Klay Thompson, but they would have had to have signed Klay Thompson to probably a max-level extension as soon as they got him. That's a lot of money to invest in a guy who may or may not be a franchise player. He may just be a secondary player. Andrew Wiggins may be a franchise player. He just won't be a franchise player this year. So the Wolves are going to have to take a few years to get there. But all in all, I think you're going to get a terrific haul in this deal for, if you're the Wolves. And I honestly, I'm not so sure a team realistically, the keyword being realistically, could beat this offer, and that's why it's going to happen, I think.
Brian, do you think the Cavs would have been willing to do this kind of deal without an agreement from Kevin Love that he would sign an extension?
There is no agreement. There can't be an agreement. It's against the rules. There will be no extension. I will guarantee you, almost with everything that I'm worth, that there will be no extension signed. I know that that's been reported, but it makes no sense for Kevin Love to sign an extension under any circumstances. I don't care if the Cavs go 82-0, and he averages 55 points and shoots 86% from the field. He would not sign the extension because the extension is a bad move. It's a bad financial move. The only way that you can get. The only way that he can make this deal work the best is if he lets his contract expire and then signs a whole new contract next year. And under league rules, you cannot agree to another contract before your contract is up. You can extend your contract, and I know this gets into funky language, and your people are like, well, what's the difference? It doesn't make a difference. Well, you're just going to have to trust me that in the NBA rules, you don't see extensions really anymore. So, like a couple of years ago, before the rules changed, as an example, when Kevin Garnett was traded to the Boston Celtics from the Wolves, he immediately signed an extension because there was no financial penalty. Well, this time there is a financial penalty. There's no way that Love will do that deal. So, while there may be good feelings and there may be the understanding that Love wants to be with the Cavs long term, and I expect him, if he, when he comes to say this, I'm coming here for the long term, he will not be contractually obligated, and he really can't even be like wink obligated, because the league would potentially block the deal because it is illegal to come to an agreement like that. So the reality is the Cavs are potentially trading 3 first picks for Kevin Love for 1 year. And the reason they're willing to do that is because they've only got LeBron for 1 year, and they have to go all out. And so the belief is if you have a good year, Love will sign long term. And I also have seen, I know that Yahoo has reported that it would be a 5-year extension. A couple of things on that. A 5-year extension is the most he could sign for would be probably in the range of about $106 million, not $110, or not $120. And I actually don't think he will sign a 5-year extension because, as we've seen, it's more likely for these great players to sign shorter deals where they can take advantage of the salary cap going up. So Kevin Love is going to be a Cleveland Cavalier. I strongly believe that. But I don't believe that he will be a guaranteed Cleveland Cavalier for 5 or 6 years. I think you're going to have to wait and see on that. That doesn't mean anybody should be trampled down in their enthusiasm. It's just I'm just trying to be responsible reporting on most likely how this is going to go.
Brian, if the deal goes down and Kevin Love comes here to Cleveland, how does a big three of Kyrie, LeBron, and Love compare to Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron when LeBron went to Miami in 2010?
Well, I think that those guys were much more playoff tested. I mean, Wade had a ring, and that was a team, that was a championship organization that had a lot of good things in place. And Chris Bosh, it was a guy who, fit really nicely with LeBron. I think Love fits really nicely with LeBron. The Kyrie-LeBron pairing is a bit of a challenge because Kyrie has been a ball-dominating player in his career, and he's going to have to change his game a lot. He knows it. I mean, I talked to him in Las Vegas last week. I talked to Deion Waiters and wrote a story about that on ESPN about how they know they've got to change their game. Also, we have a coach who's never coached in an NBA playoff series before. And by all accounts, this guy is, David Blatt is a really accomplished coach. But there's a learning curve for him. And there's going to be a learning curve for LeBron playing with Waiters and Kyrie and Love. And so, while I think this team is absolutely a championship contender and absolutely has a championship pedigree, I do think it's going to take some time. There's going to be a learning curve where they learn to play together and they learn each other's tendencies, and David Blatt learns how to work a system. In Miami, it took a full year to figure it out, and they were farther ahead in the process. So, actually, right now, I know everybody's jumping to the conclusion that the Cavs are championship favorites. I don't feel that. I feel that they are definitely contenders, which means that maybe they're a top 3 or 4 team. I still think Oklahoma City and San Antonio are ahead of them, and I feel like, depending on how things go, that Chicago could be ahead of them too, because Chicago is a team that has a great defensive concept, defensive principle, defensive history. The Cavs team has great defensive history. Player. Kyrie Irving has not yet proven to be a good defensive player. This team has never, has played good defense. That's where you need veterans like LeBron and Sean Marion and lead. And, you've also got to prove, if you're David Blatt, that you can coach defense on an NBA level. So, you ask me this question again in February, I may have a different answer. But the talent upgrade is enormous. But the the pieces have still not yet proven that they're going to completely gel together.
Brian, does it matter to LeBron James who his coach is? Because from my standpoint, it doesn't seem to. It didn't seem to in 2010 when he went to Miami, and it didn't seem to this time around in free agency. Am I off on that?
I mean, I think he did not go to Miami to play with Eric Spoelstra, play for Eric Spoelstra. He went to Miami. He didn't go to Miami really to play for Pat Riley either. I mean, that was a really good thing to have because you trusted Pat Riley could execute in the front office. But he went to Miami to play with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, and he came to Cleveland to play with Kyrie Irving. And I think he had a pretty good idea when he signed that the Cavs were getting Kevin Love. I think you can just look at the letter he wrote, and where he didn't include Bennett and Wiggins in the letter, he had a pretty good idea how this was going to go. So that's he's coming to play with the team. He doesn't play for the front office, the coaching staff. He plays for the team. So I think you are right that he doesn't have to have a world-class bond with his coach to be successful. But I do think that Eric Spoelstra did a fantastic job designing a system that maximized the talents of those three players. And I do think that it will be incumbent on David Blatt to figure out a system that maximizes the talents of these players. Just because it's not number one on LeBron's list doesn't mean that it's not really, really important.
Brian, when it comes to it, here in Cleveland, now we're trying to project forward. We're looking at how the starting five is going to look, what the bench is going to look like. Some questions have been coming in about Brendan Haywood. You mentioned that deal that the Cavs made for him. Is he part of this deal for Minnesota, or is he going to be on the roster here?
It's not my understanding that he's a part of it. This deal works financially with these three assets being given out, Wiggins, Bennett, and the number one pick. That's one of the reasons why they have to wait for 30 days. They have to wait so that they can count Andrew Wiggins' salary in the deal. Andrew Wiggins makes $5.5 million. Bennett makes about $5.5 million. You have $11 million. If you're trading for a player who's making more than $10 million, you just have to get within $5 million of the number. Kevin Love makes $15.7 million. So there you have it. The Cavs see Brendan Haywood as a terrific asset, not because he plays the center position, but because he has a contract next year that's $10 million that's non-guaranteed. And the reason that has a value is that next year you could potentially get a free agent in a sign and trade, or you could trade for a player who's making up to $15 million. Because like I said, if you have a player making over $10 million, you can trade for anything within $5 million. So, in a year from now, let's say the Cavs want to sign a player, like let's say Eric Bledsoe, for example. That's the guy that the Cavs have interest in. LeBron James is close with. He could be a free agent next year. He may not, and he could go. The Suns could have to participate in a sign and trade, and the Cavs could end up trading another asset plus Brendan Haywood's non-guaranteed contract for a guy like Eric Bledsoe. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I'm saying that's why this particular contract has value. They traded for Brendan Haywood because of that contract. Mm-hmm. And again, this just goes back to David Griffin being shrewd. At the very end of the regular season, they signed this guy that nobody had ever heard of before, Scotty Hobson, and they gave him $1 million. And people were like, why would you give a guy out of the D-Leaguer who was playing in Turkey $1 million at the end of the season? If they did that so that they could have this contract that was non-guaranteed, that they could trade for Brendan Haywood. They had their eyes on Brendan Haywood for months. The deal only happened on draft night, but when they signed Scotty Hobson, they did it with the thought that they would trade for Brendan Haywood on draft night. So this is what I'm talking about when this is David Griffin had vision. Now, he didn't know for sure he was getting LeBron James. He just knew that he loved the idea of getting that Brendan Haywood contract. Also, the Cavs need a backup center. Mm-hmm. Depending on his health, it's possible that Haywood could help them. He missed most of last year with a foot injury. I don't know where he is health-wise. But I highly doubt that the Cavs want to include that deal for Love, considering they're giving up so much.
Brian, two free agents, Sean Marion, Ray Allen. Do the Cavs get both, one, or neither?
I think that they're in good shape with Sean Marion, and again, I think this is something that's been getting lined up for weeks. As for Ray Allen, I do think he's really LeBron going to Cleveland was a curveball. Ray, I think if LeBron had re-signed in Miami where Ray's family is, I think Ray would probably have already re-signed with the Heat. Mm-hmm. The thing I could see Ray Allen doing now is just waiting until the season starts, and waiting until mid-season to see exactly where the best fit for him would be, whether that's Cleveland or another team. Or he could see Kevin Love coming to Cleveland being a done deal, and he could be like, okay, I'm ready to join that team, and he could sign. But if there is an agreement in place, I don't know about it, and Ray and his agent have been very strong in saying that Ray has not made up his mind yet. So I will take them at their word and see what happens. I do think it's a possibility, but I think Marion is more likely at this point.
Brian, being in Miami and watching the Heat for the last couple of years, what can Mike Miller and James Jones bring to the Cavs?
Well, Mike Miller is an absolute world-class three-point shooter. You leave him open, he will kill you. He shot 43% or 45% on threes last year, one of the best in the league. He's a perfect complement for LeBron. He has injury issues, but you're only going to play him, 15 to 20 minutes a game, and you probably will give him days off. So it's a terrific addition at $2.7 million. Just absolutely fantastic, perfect alongside LeBron James. And if he stays healthy, is the type of guy you need to win a playoff series. He helped the Heat win the finals 2 years ago, without a doubt. As for I'm sorry,
James Jones.
I'm sorry, I'm just dealing with the taxi driver here.
Oh, no problem.
I just can't do this. I just run this.
Let him run it. Come on. You should accept credit.
How do I do that?
Days.
All right, sorry about this, Chris.
Come on, Brian.
You're catching me on the. Here you go. You're catching me on the way to the airport here.
Was he rejecting your card? Is that what he was doing there, Brian?
I just don't know. You're getting real stuff here. I'm coming to Cleveland for the LeBron event tomorrow. As for James Jones, I don't know how much he's going to play. He didn't play very much the last few years in Miami, but he is an absolute veteran. Every single day he comes and works. He's a terrific guy to be an example. I need a receipt, please. To be an example to your younger players, because the guy just comes out and works every single day. If he hasn't played in a month, he'll come out and work. And they're paying him $1.4 million. Actually, the league is paying $600,000 of that. They're paying him $800,000, and he could very easily come in and help you win one playoff game with one three-pointer. And if he does that, if he gives you 5 good minutes in the playoffs and throughout the regular season, he's a guy who sets the tone for your guys in practice, because he's absolutely a consummate professional. He's terrific in the locker room, terrific with the young players, that he's worth every penny. But I don't think that you should count on him being a guy who is a night in and night out contributor, although he's a great guy to have on the roster. Mike Miller is a guy like that, and so is Sean Marion.
ESPN NBA insider Brian Windhorst joining us here on Sports Insider. Brian, thanks so much for the time, bud. Appreciate it, and I'll see you tomorrow at the rally.
Okay, take care.
All right, there he is, Brian Windhorst with the 411 on what's going on between the Cavs and Kevin Love. Again, he's trying to take the approach that it's not done, things can change, things move quickly in the NBA. 16 days until this thing can officially be announced, because Andrew Wiggins, obviously, he's got to wait 30 days before he can be in a trade. He signed his contract on July 24th, so August 23rd would be the day to keep an eye out for when it comes to this possible trade. That's a Saturday, so maybe they hold off until the Monday after. Who knows, but it doesn't seem like it's done. All right, coming up in a bit, we'll talk to Paul Hoynes from cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer as the Indians finishing up their series with the Cincinnati Reds in Cincinnati. As we've got some more people talking here in the comment section. If you have any questions for Hoynesy, go to the comment section at the bottom of the post. You can send those in, as we've got him now. Hoynesy, what's going on, bud?
How you doing today?
I'm doing great, doing a little bit better than the Indians. Hoynesy, every time that they bring us back in, right, they go on this winning streak, and we're starting to think, all right, now's the time that they're going to turn things around. Then they go and they play some crazy, weird, bad baseball the next couple against the Cincinnati Reds. And that's kind of been the story of the season.
That's what you do when you're a 500 ball club. I really believe that. They just haven't shown the ability. I think their longest winning streak is 6 games. They haven't shown the ability to do more than that. They haven't really shown the ability to, win 8 out of 10, 12 out of 15. And the reason is because of starting pitching. If you don't have consistent, quality starting pitching, you're not going to win consistently.
So what can they do? Anything from here on out? Can they do anything internally? Have they exhausted their options here, Hoynes? Tell me.
Well, I think, excuse me, when we were thinking about starting Carlos Carrasco Sunday against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium, you've exhausted your possibilities internally. I'm sure they're trying to work a deal, see who clears waivers, if they can put a claim in on a pitcher, starting pitcher. But right now, this merry-go-round is very confusing, and I think it's frustrating to the players as well. Danny Salazar, I'm sure Danny Salazar, I talked to him after the game last night, and he's a guy that had won 3 straight. Okay, got knocked around last night, did not pitch well, did not pitch smart more than anything, and he finds out he's going back down to Columbus. Well, I guess going up the turnpike from Cincinnati to Columbus, and to get a rest. He has no choice in the matter. You can see him kind of biting his tongue after the game last night. He goes, "If they tell me I need a rest, if they tell me they want to give me a couple extra days, okay, I have no choice. I'll go take a rest." And it's just, Tomlin's up, he's down, he's in the bullpen, he's in the rotation. It's just hard to keep track of. And I think they're doing all they can to keep this team competitive. So hopefully they get on a run. But I just, I've never seen a rotation handled this way, and it's interesting.
Hoynes, the other night, I'm at the game, you're at the game, was at Progressive Field. I have never seen anything like I saw. I don't think the Indians have ever seen anything like that either, judging by the way that they reacted. Can you walk me through that one, please?
Yeah, that was just when you think you've seen everything, you've seen nothing at all. It was, I believe it was the 7th inning. The Indians are getting beat 6-1. They've got Ronnie Chisenhall's on second. David Murphy's on first. Yan Gomes hits a double to the fence and right in front of the Reds bullpen. Jay Bruce picks up the ball, throws the relay into the infield, and at the same time, Jumbo Diaz or somebody, I'm not sure who, rockets a ball out of the Reds bullpen, and it was like the two balls almost crossed flight paths. And they both ended up near the second baseman, Negron, in the cutoff position. And he feels that the ball that's in play, throws it to the shortstop, Zach Cozart, who's trying to make the tag on Gomes going into second base. By this time, Chisenhall had scored, and Murphy is sliding into third. When he pops up, turns around, and sees that the ball from the bullpen laying in short right center field and decides to go for home. He gets about 3 feet from the bag, slams on the brakes, goes back, and is out, and there goes a potential rally. So, and the rule says, you can't, the only way you can stop it, call a play dead while it's in motion is if, the lights go out or someone there's a player or an umpire injured on the field. And that didn't happen, and Murphy got beat. And the Indians talked about it after the game. General manager Chris Antonetti, the manager, Terry Francona, their coaching staffs, they they thought about calling Major League Baseball and, launching a protest or at least asking for a review of things, but they decided, hey, the rule is the rule, and we were just in the wrong spot at the wrong time.
All right, so let's clean some things up here, Hoynesy. When it comes to injuries, Michael Brantley, he was taken out of the game in the 7th inning yesterday, replaced by Mike Aviles. Do you expect him to play against Cincinnati tonight?
Yeah, I think so. Frank Kona said he thought he was okay. I mean, he wasn't moving real well. I think he was just trying to give him a break mostly. The game was 8-3. So I think it was, I don't know if it was a double switch. It looked like a double switch, didn't it? But after the game, he was asked about Brantley. He said he was okay. We'll see today, of course.
How about Michael Bourne?
Bourne is scheduled to go 7 innings tonight in Akron, and he will play another 7 innings tomorrow. Get a day off and continue his rehab.
Are the Indians starting to get any concern at all, Hoynesy, with Trevor Bauer? We mentioned how difficult it is to figure out this starting rotation. It looked like about a month and a half ago that maybe Trevor Bauer was somebody that we could put in there and kind of have an idea of what he was going to give. Are the Indians starting to get concerned about that?
I don't think so. I think he's I think he's had a very, very impressive rookie year, or a continuation of his rookie year. I think he's on the right path. He's going to have some ups and downs. Excuse me, jeez, man. He's going to have his ups and downs. But I think he's been pretty consistent. I think they're very happy with him.
All right, Hoynesy, good stuff, man. I appreciate you joining me here on Sports Insider, and we'll talk next time, bud.
All right, hang in there.
All right, there he is, Indians beat reporter. You hang in there, Hoynesy. You got to cover this Indians team on a nightly basis that has been so Jekyll and Hyde. So thanks to Paul Hoynes, thanks to ESPN NBA insider Brian Windhorst with the latest on the Kevin Love trade rumors. Again, the latest is, according to Yahoo Sports, an agreement is in place. It will bring Kevin Love here to Cleveland. In return, the Cavs sending Andrew Wiggins, Anthony Bennett, a 2015 first-round pick. Nobody knows which pick that's going to be. And also Yahoo saying that Kevin Love and the Cavs, even though they can't do it officially, they have an agreement in place where Kevin Love has agreed to sign an extension with the Cavs at the end of this upcoming season. A lot of moving parts, nothing official. It can't be made official until August 23rd, but keep it right here on cleveland.com, cleveland.com/Cavs for all the latest on Kevin Love, all you need to know right here, and we'll talk to you next week. We do it every single Thursday here at 11:30 on cleveland.com. It's Sports Insider. Thanks for joining us.